Welcome to another video. Welcome to another video. This is Value Tech Sense, where I show you how to get the best tech for less. I am an audiophile, videophile, cinephile, but I am also a value shopper, all right? And in this video, I am going to show you what they are not telling you about Oleds, all right? What they are not telling you about Oleds. All right, we are going to jump straight into the video. Those of you that are new here, I've been doing a series of videos, Qled versus Oled, and why I personally prefer Qleds. And this is going to be the fourth video in that series. All right, I've been on vacation. I just got back and we are going to pick up where we left off. All right. So anyway, if you have not seen the first 3 videos, I will leave links in the description. But to get everybody up to speed, right? My last video was called OLED bias on full display. All right. OLED bias on full display. I just want to address some people in the comments section. Right. I said I would do that once I got back. And upon looking in the comments section, there's a few people in here that had a problem with my last video. All right. So I'm going to address these people, Mr. Evan G and Ninjishin here. All right. I'm going to address these people in the comments section as it is on topic. And we're just going to keep it moving and get right into it. All right. We're going to start off with Evan G. All right. Evan G. He basically said that he doesn't understand the point of the video, right? Just seems like a hit piece on a YouTuber that is known for being polite and non-confrontational and really doesn't say anything particularly controversial to anyone that has a basic understanding of how these technologies work, all right? I've never seen Classy say anything that was obviously wrong unless someone was taken out of context, all right? Evan G, my G. This video is called OLED bias on full display. All right. And this entire video was very biased. All right. I'm going to break this video down for you since you didn't get the video, because the video, anybody that has a basic understanding would have seen that this video was very biased. But a lot of people don't have a basic understanding. That's why in my videos, I do them the way that I do, because I'm actually teaching and educating people about the technologies. All right. Because nobody's doing that. All right. Everybody's making the same videos, talking about the same old stuff. If you watch my videos, you're actually going to learn something about these technologies. And I'm showing people what no one else is showing them. And I will show you in a moment. But as far as me taking hits at Keep It Classy, man, it's not about him. All right. I don't know him. He doesn't know me. There's no personal attacks. Y'all act like I'm talking about his mama or something, man. This is about the information. All right. This is what it's about. All right. It's not personal attacks against Keep It Classy. I'm challenging the information that's being put out. And if there's information out there and it's biased, then I'm going to call it out. Has nothing to do with him. All right. Everybody know this guy, Linus Tech Tips, right? I challenged this video. All right. He's going on 14 million subscribers. Do I have a personal vendetta against Linus Tech Tips? No. But this video was off base. And by the overwhelming number of likes here, Facts are facts, man. Good information is good information, no matter who's putting it out. So if the information is wrong, I'm going to correct it. You don't like it, sorry about your luck, man. But it's nothing personal. I still watch Linus Tech Tips videos, even though this particular video was off base. All right. So someone puts information out, I'm going at the information. All right. If I put information out and somebody can correct my information with facts and not feelings, then hey, salute to you, man. I'm all about it. I welcome it. Go back and fact check any of my videos and bring me some information. And if you are correct, I will salute you, because it's not personal. It's about learning. All right. So I'm going to break this video down in a moment. Let's go down here to Ninjishin. PQ is absolute. Never said that it wasn't. All right. The majority of content falls within the SDR brightness range. I never said anything different. I said that SDR and HDR are two totally different things, and they are. Please educate yourself. Don't become a dumber version of Quantum TV. I'm sure this information will fly over your head. Well, obviously my video flew over your head, so you obviously also have OLED bias. All right. Shout out to Mr. Chino Gambino. All right. He actually responded to Ninjishin by saying that should HDR content be mostly in SDR though? Blade Runner is an SDR film in an HDR signal container. A purist might argue since it has elements over 100 nits, it's HDR. I honestly can't buy that's a meaningful difference. Lots of HDR content just sucks. That is facts, my G. And a purist would actually call this fake HDR. That's why I used HDTV test videos in my video, because he's a videophile, he's a purist, and he actually calls that fake HDR. All right. And he's actually doing an analysis of a 4K Blu-ray disc, actually measuring and doing an analysis of the content and not of what the TV does. All right. Ahead of his time, The Matrix, HDR analysis, 1,000+ nits. So when you're out there shopping for 4K Blu-rays, right, these videos are important because they show what discs and what movies are actually mastered and hit that 1,000 nit benchmark to actually be called HDR, true HDR. All right. And let's look at how Ninjishin responded to that. All right. I promise I'm getting right to the video, guys. Just pay attention. All of this is important. All right. I'm about to knock 2 birds out with 1 stone. All right. So now Ninjishin responds. That's the point. The Star Wars trilogy brought to Dolby Vision weren't mastered very well either. The point Classy was making is that for most content, the OLED can show enough brightness. All right. In reverse, an LCD can have full field brightness but suffers on highlight brightness due to it fighting its local dimming algorithm. The brighter LCD will end up having duller highlights in dark scene since it wants to prevent blooming. All right, blooming. Here we go. Talking about blooming. Both technologies have problems with HDR. Now, like I said, if you have not seen my first 3 videos, I will leave links in the description. But the point of all of my videos has been this right here. Both technologies have problems with HDR, but the LCD TVs do it better, right? See, nobody wants to talk about the problems of OLEDs. They can get in the comments section and talk about, you know, the OLED has problems with HDR, but nobody's making videos about it. All right. Nobody's illustrating that to you. That's what I'm doing in my videos, because all these guys talk about is the problems with LEDs. I don't care what video you watch. I don't care what review you watch. Test the blooming, test the blooming. I don't see anybody testing ABL on these OLEDs. And when you bring up brightness, these people get amnesia and they get butthurt because you're bringing up the flaws of OLEDs. And that's very biased. So Evan G and Ninjishin, let me go ahead and break this video down for you guys very quickly and show you guys that you both suffer from OLED bias. All right, guys. Now I'm going to break this video down so you can see this video through my eyes and see exactly what I was thinking when I watched this video. But before I break this down for the class, I'm going to say this one more time. All right. This is not about Classy. All right. This is about the information. All right, I'm challenging the information in this video. I actually made a video response to this video because my subscribers sent me links to the video. And the only reason my subs send me video links is for clarity and understanding. All right, that's why they send it to me, because they want my take on it. All right, they don't send me videos to stir up drama. They only send me videos to get my take on it. And this should be taken as such. All right, so with that said, man, I'm just gonna roll the clip and show you guys why this video is so biased. All right, let's do it.
All right, here's a scene I paused on our planet. This is in Dolby Vision, and it's fairly white, you know, a lot of snow, and even still, it's only measuring at 83 nits. Now, why is that? Well, because HDR and Dolby Vision, most of the scene that you're seeing falls in that SDR space range. It's only in specific, very bright highlights. Let me bring up the pointer. So like if you were to look over in this section, it's going to pull up the menu, but those little bright dots right there. So if I get rid of the pointer, those little bright dots underneath where it shows the picture mode, like that, I'm sure if I could measure something that small, is going to be brighter. Those are HDR highlights.
Clearly, to me, Classy's seen too many star fields. All right, he's seen way too many star fields, because if you look at this scene right here, right, this is a scene where the sun is actually melting all of this ice. All right, it's melting all of this ice, and this ice is breaking and falling into the water. So somebody please explain to me, how come the sun bypassed this big ass ice cap, all of this ice, right? The HDR bypassed all of this ice and went over here to these little dots, right? Why did he point this out as HDR highlights and none of this as HDR highlights? These are highlights. These are highlights. There's highlights throughout this entire scene, right? This entire scene is filled with highlights. But his idea of HDR is stars. Little, tiny, little stars. None of this has HDR highlights, all right? That's what this video is saying in this particular scene, and it is biased. This is very OLED specific, little dots with a black background, but this is not what this scene represents, all right? Let's go back to Ninjishin. Let's go back to Ninjishin, right? He says, the point Classy was making is that for most content, the OLED can show enough brightness. In reverse, an LCD can have full field brightness but suffers on highlight brightness due to it fighting its local dimming algorithm. The brighter LCD will end up having duller highlights in dark scene since it wants to prevent blooming. Dark scene. Does this look like a dark scene to you? Is this a dark scene? No, it is not. The scene that he chose is not a dark scene. It's actually a scene where there's HDR highlights throughout the entire scene. But he chose to point right in the middle of this ice cap and said, this is the SDR portion of the scene, and these little dots are the HDR highlights. This is very OLED specific and biased and completely wrong. All right, let's keep the clip moving. Let's keep it rolling. Roll the clip.
So with HDR, you have still your main scene that falls in that SDR range, and then you have your highlights, which are brighter. But just because your TV is capable of 700, 800, 1000, 1500, whatever nits at a 10% window in a synthetic setting, you're never going to get that in a real content scenario.
You're never going to get that in a real content scenario. What a biased, false blanket statement. Now, you'll never see that on an OLED. That's for damn sure. 900, 1000, 1500 nits? Never. You will never see that on an OLED. But to say that there's no real world content that hits that is false. Sorry about your luck. All right. I'm an Ninjician and I approve this message. There is no content that hits above 900, 1,000, or 1,500 nits. That is completely false. And people got the audacity to come in here and call people dumb. Oh, boy. Roll the clip.
So here, it's in my home with the tone mapping on. It's measuring 270 nits on the roof of that car. This is a very bright image that I'm looking at right now. The average picture level is very bright, but yet we're still only measuring 270 nits. So when people use the word brightness, my question is, what do you mean? Do you mean the overall brightness of the entire image like this, being very, very bright, being overly bright, brighter than it's supposed to be? Do you mean what the max brightness the TV is capable of in a measurement? And there's a very long discussion to be had about measurements, why they are almost useless, and at least until a better standard can be created of how to actually measure brightness.
All right, man. If y'all can't see the bias by now, there's no help for you in sight. All right. Never mind the fact that he's lecturing people on HDR using low bitrate Netflix and Amazon Prime content. Forget that. All right. But the fact that he said that measurements are basically useless. All right. Until they come up with a better standard. All right. Measurements are basically useless, but he used measurements to make his points throughout the entire video. The reason that he feels like measurements are pretty much useless, right, is because he can't measure pixels. Because he can't measure pixels, all right? Not even a 1% window is good enough. He says you need to measure even smaller than that. So 1%, 5%, 10%, right? 25%, 50%, 100%. All of that is completely useless unless you can measure pixels, unless you can measure stars, right? Star fields. That is very OLED specific and biased. The problem that OLED has is its overall brightness. All right. It's overall brightness. And no matter how much y'all try to, measure it up and explain it to people why OLED and HDR can seem too dark, it's just dark, my G. Anybody can see that. Anybody with two eyeballs can see that OLEDs are dim compared to QLEDs. All right. Let's just go down here, right? Let's go down here to your comments section. All right. Look at my man right here. How about age and brightness? I'm 47 years now and feel that I want more light brightness in TV and movie pictures. My vision has changed a lot since my younger years. No, it's not changed that much, my G. All right. You can still see that something's dimmer than something else. All right. As far as clarity with your vision, as far as getting glasses, that's one thing. But as far as brightness, my guy, even a child can see if something is brighter than something else.
I want to play on this one.
And why? You gotta give the reason why.
Because it's the brightest one.
Because the brightest one? Alright, thank you.
Check out Steven Sanford right here. Thanks for this video. I purchased the LG C1 last week as a supposed upgrade to my KS8000. And I won't say shocked, but very surprised at how dim it compared to the KS8000. That's a great TV, by the way. I suppose, as you say, I had grown used to a very bright screen. Will take a bit of time to adjust, I suppose, but I do miss the KS8000 brightness, to be honest. Maybe an aging thing. I'm 51. Laugh out loud. No, man, it has nothing to do with your age. It has everything to do with OLEDs are just dim. And nobody wants to say it. Nobody wants to admit it. See, people that have QLEDs, we've accepted blooming, right? It's become so socially awkward for people to talk about OLEDs. We accept blooming, right? You could talk about blooming all day. Nobody gets upset. As soon as you say something about the brightness of OLEDs, people get butt hurt. You know why? Because they're biased. But they can go in comment section and say, yeah, both technologies have problems, but nobody's showing it to anybody. Nobody's illustrating it. Shout out to B the Installer, right? He did a video on the Q90T where he had the Q90T right here and 3 different OLEDs, right? See, Qleds share a common flaw with blooming, but OLEDs share a common flaw also with brightness. Here's your LG CX, your Vizio OLED, and the Sony A8H, and they all share the same problem. They're all dimmer than the Qled. And I don't care how much you want to measure it, man. This looks more like real life. That's why they say Qleds are like looking out of a window, and these look like you have sunglasses on. Shout out to Truth Seeker in the comments section. That's what he said. The OLEDs look like you have sunglasses on. This is more representative of what you will see when you walk outside of your door. All right, let's just play the video a little bit. Look at that. I mean, just look. Look at the highlights. It's not just the whites. The greens are different. The skin is different. The hat is different. All of the colors are different. It affects your overall picture. All right. I've been playing Madden 22. Looks better on the Qled. I've been playing 2K22. Looks better on the Qled. Videos are on the way. I got a lot of video comparisons because all of the comparisons that people do when they do these, they're comparing the Qleds to OLEDs, but they never compare the OLEDs to Qleds. All right. They want to pull up Starfields and talk about the blooming of the Qleds, but they don't want to pull up a scene like this and talk about the brightness limitations of the OLEDs. How much content are you consuming that looks like Starfields? How much content are you consuming that looks like this or looks like this? Y'all watching NFL games, right? Y'all watching baseball games. Y'all watching television. Y'all watching movies. Just how much of that movie is dark scenes and how much of that movie looks like this? But all the emphasis is on dark scenes. All the emphasis is on stars, star fields. But when it comes to real world content, when it comes to the majority of the content that you consume on a daily basis, how much of it looks like a star field and how much of it looks like this? You see it now? You see the wool that's been pulled over your eyes? Look. Oh yeah. It's a lot brighter, looks a lot better. This is what you get with Qleds. This is what you get with OLEDs. But nobody wants to talk about it. Just like you can go in videos and talk about blooming and talk about flashlighting and talk about black bars, I can go in videos and talk about how dim these TVs are. And I don't care how much you want to measure it. Anybody with 2 eyeballs could see that it's dimmer. So anyway, man, I'm going to end this video with a video comparison, the first of many that are on the way. We're going to switch over to the LG CX and the Vizio PQX, and I'm going to show you a QLED versus OLED comparison unlike anything you've ever seen.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
But what I'm going to do is get up and get closer to the TVs. I'll have to adjust the camera as I do this and show you what I'm talking about here. Not only are the lights brighter, but they're much more defined on the OLED because each pixel can turn on and off, whereas with the mini LED on the QLED, we're still talking thousands of pixels that have to light up for just one little thing. So you can just see that's the blooming with little highlights.
So as you can see, he had to go all the way up to the screen. I'm talking about he had to put the camera all the way up on the screen, right, to show the strength of the OLED. To show the strength of the OLED, but from back here, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, it looks exactly the same. And when they make these comparisons, they nerf the QLED, right? Why would you buy a TV? Why would you spend the extra money to buy the brighter TV, right? You spend the extra money, you pay the premium for the OLED so you can get the black levels. You pay the premium for the QLED so you can get the brightness, all right? Mid-range QLEDs don't get that bright. You pay the extra money, you pay the premium because the more expensive QLEDs have the brightness. So what's the point in spending all that money for an expensive QLED if you're just going to turn the brightness down? That's not a fair comparison.
So, I mean, it's pretty obvious right here just how much brighter you can get, and it's, again, only at like 25 brightness setting on the QN90A, whereas the LG G1 is as bright as it can get for SDR gaming. In a moderately lit room, I think the G1 gets bright enough in SDR gaming, though it would be nice just to get a little bit more brightness out of it. I personally wouldn't go any brighter on the Samsung than where it's at now, but some people do. That's up to you. LG keeps the brightness somewhat limited to try and hold on to the colors as much as possible so they don't get washed out. So throughout this video, I'm going to switch back and forth between doing side-by-sides like this as well as just solo time with each one and point out some positives and some negatives for both of them when it comes to gaming. Some things you may already know about each of them and some things you may not. One thing in particular I have not seen anyone else mention about the QN90A when gaming, so that is a bit concerning. However, they both are excellent, with local dimming on low on the Samsung, and the brightness is only on 12, and the brightness is only on 12 to get similar brightness of the LG.
Just like if I go in here inside the OLED menu, right? Let's go in here. We're on Cinema Home, right? OLED light is on 100. Contrast is on 100. What would happen if I took the brightness, right? What would happen if I took the brightness and I just started cranking it up? Look at our black bars. What happened to those, right? They're gone, right? Why would I up the brightness of the OLED to further promote the QLED? What kind of sense would that make? Why would I nerf the OLED, right? You don't do that. You don't nerf the OLED. The OLED strength is its black levels, right? And you want your OLED to perform optimally, and that's the way y'all do y'all comparisons. Y'all show these OLEDs performing at their best, but at the same time, on the QLEDs, you got the brightness turned down. You got the brightness turned down. The strength of the QLED is its brightness, and that's why I'm showing real comparisons. See, right now I have the brightness turned down just to match the OLED. But see, I can turn this up. Those lights are already brighter than the OLED, and I don't even have it turned up that much. All right, it's already brighter. And this scene right here literally is like 15-20 seconds. So out of this entire show, right, you had to go to a scene that was 15 or 20 seconds to show the strength of an OLED from right up on the screen. I'm talking about literally right up on the screen. But when you watch this entire show, right, let's just rewind it a little bit. All right, let's rewind it a little bit. You see these scenes right here? You see how much brighter the QLED is? How much more light is on her face? It is no exaggeration, guys. All right? No exaggeration. Let me just pause it. For those of y'all that think it's a game, right? I'm just going to pause it right there. Let's go ahead and, like before, let's go ahead and match the OLED, because this is what they do, right? They turn it down. They turn it down, right? They turn it down so they can match, so they can look the same, right? There we go. Now they look even. That's what y'all do. Now it looks even, right? Because we got to turn the QLED down so it can look just like the OLED, so we can talk about how wonderful the OLED is. We got to nerf the QLED, right? and then you got to go to a scene that's 20 seconds long. When you watch this entire show, right? When you look at this entire show, everything is highlights, my G. Everything. All right? Not just little tiny highlights. You talking about 1% windows. Bruh, what are you talking about? You see all those lights in the background? Those are highlights. All right? You see that glass window behind her? Those are highlights. Everything in the scene is a highlight. Even that light shining off of her face is a highlight. But the thing about it is, right, the Qled is nerfed. When you show the Qled at its strength, let's crank it up. This is the difference in the highlights and the picture when you do a real comparison. Yeah, I could turn it down, right? All y'all out there talking about, oh, Qleds give you a headache. See, I have the option to turn my brightness down, right? I have that option. So if I'm watching at night, if my eyes are fatigued, yeah, I could turn it down and match the OLED. But you know what the OLED can't do? It can't match the Qled. Nope, can't do it. It's already maxed out, right? So when you see scenes like this, and y'all telling me my videos are fake, nope, my videos aren't fake. That's the difference in having a TV that can show highlights, right? Everything looks better, all right? ABL is not just about white, all right? It's about brightness, period. That thing kicks in on colors too. Go to Best Buy, go over there and watch the demos, man. People just making up excuses for these TVs. I'm not saying they're bad TVs. What I'm saying is I prefer the Qleds. And this is one of the reasons why. Because they're more versatile. If I'm in the dark, I can turn this down. I can turn this down in the dark. All right? Let's just rewind it. I mean, just look. Can't play too much of this show, but just so you guys could see. All right? That television in the background is a highlight, all right? The light, those bar lights that are shining onto her sweater are highlights. All of those are highlights, and they pop on the Qled. But again, like I said, if I'm in the dark, guess what? I can go in here, I can turn this down, right? Let's turn it down. And now we can match the OLED, all right? Yeah, we can match the look of an OLED. Qled still is showing brighter highlights, all right? Even with the brightness turned down. Even with the brightness turned down, guys. Just like right here, I have turned it down to match the OLED. The Qled is still showing more highlights, all right? So, you know, if you've got an OLED and that's the only TV you have and you've gotten used to the look of the OLED, man, enjoy your OLED. All right? What I would tell you is to get both. Get both. Get both technologies. All right? You sitting up in the dark and you want to watch your OLED, watch your OLED. All right? But the Qled looks better in the dark to me as well. You're going to get better HDR highlights. It's just going to hit better. The OLED will do better on very dark scenes, which are very minimal. All right, that's why every time somebody's comparing a Qled to an OLED, right, they always got to pull up some Starfield test, or they got to pull up some kind of like one scene where you're in space and there's stars, all right? But the entire show doesn't look like that, man. I'm talking about from the jump. From the jump. I'm talking about when the show first comes on, right? Show comes on, right? Netflix, boom. Show comes on, it's bright, guys. It's bright. Those little dark scenes are too few and far in between. And the Qled is not too far behind the OLED, especially when you're sitting at a proper distance. The fact that you got to go all the way up on the screen to show the difference. I mean, just look at the difference in the whites. Look at the difference in the whites, all right? That white range is where your Qled shines. And right now, I have the brightness turned down. But this is what white really looks like. See that? That's white. That is white. All right? That's white. All right? The OLEDs can't produce the colors that the Qled produces because it doesn't get bright enough, because it gets capped. it gets capped. That's your ABL right there. That's your ABL, guys. See that? It's not a game. It's real. What looks better to you? Right? Let's pause that. One looks muted and one does not. One looks SDR, one looks HDR. That's the difference in brightness. But again, let me just turn this down, right? Let's go ahead and match the OLED. Let's turn this all the way down and do what they do in their comparison videos, right? They ain't really showing you nothing. I mean, they be in videos like they scared to tell you that something's wrong with the OLED. I mean, I saw a recent video. We know the problems with OLEDs. I'm not going to expound on that. Yeah, you're not going to expound on it. You've never expounded on it. No one expounds on it. I'm talking about it, and I'm forcing y'all to talk about it. That's what it is. Those are the facts. So everybody that thought my video I was playing camera tricks, you see it in real time. There's no camera tricks. This is the real strength of owning a brighter TV. Right here.
But HDR is a high dynamic range, meaning you can take an image that has, pure black or very dark areas and have very, very bright objects in that scene at the same time. That is what HDR is for. That is what OLED is very good at, is being able to show those pure blacks and being able to show a very bright highlight right next to them with no blooming.